Hi everyone, welcome back to Fresh Parchment. My name is Heather and today I'm going to talk through my August TBR. Now my August TBR is much shorter than my July TBR, so I definitely have hopes of getting through them all. But it does incorporate two different readathons again. So I'm going to go through book by book and cover which books cover which challenges. So the first challenge, as always, is a challenge I've set myself to read one nonfiction and one classic per month. So my dedicated classic for the month of August is Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. This is a book I know relatively little about. I believe Lady Chatterley is unhappy in her marriage and begins a torrid affair with her gardener. And the only other thing I know about Lady Chatterley's Lover is that it was so shocking that it was banned for many, many years and might even still be on some lists of banned books. Don't quote me on that last bit. But I am very excited to read this before my time as a teacher starts again, and I'll let you know what I think of it. My dedicated nonfiction is this book, which I've just hauled, which is A Very British Murder by Lucy Worsley. Like I've said many times before, Lucy Worsley is one of my favorite historians. I find her fascinating both on film and in her writing. This book looks at our fascination with murder stories, be it a good murder story in the news, or an Agatha Christie novel, or a modern-day cop thriller. So I'm very intrigued to see how she unravels this fascination's development. And yeah, it just sounds like good fun. So the two readathons that I will be participating in this month are both Simon of Savage Read's High Bear Nation readathon, which runs from today, August 1st, through August 8th. And for that, I will be fulfilling 4 challenges. And I am also participating in the Newts, and this is the last Newts readathon that there will ever be. It's run by Book Roasts, which I will leave her channel linked down below as well. She has been running both the Newts and the Owls readathons for years now. I only just started participating last year, and they're great fun. They are based in Harry Potter, and you have to fulfill a bunch of reading challenges as though you were taking your Owl and Newt exams to qualify for particular jobs in the wizarding world. However, given everything that's been going on with J.K. Rowling and everything that she's said on Twitter recently, Book Roasts has made the decision that she would hold the Newts this year because she held the Owls in April, as per usual, before anything went down. But this would be the last round of Newts that she will ever be holding. She is currently developing different readathons altogether that are unconnected to Harry Potter for next year. So I thought, as I did the Owls in April, I wanted to finish with my Newts this year. And I'm disappointed that they won't be continuing because they were lots of fun, but I completely understand and agree with Book Roast's decision as well. So the first book on my TBR that fits one or both of those prompts is Lady Chatterley's Lover. Lady Chatterley's Lover fits into my Newts prompts for the prompt to read a romance. And since that is probably the most shocking romance novel ever written, thought I would give it a try. The next book on my TBR is The Poison Thread by Laura Purcell. And this is a story of a young woman in Victorian England who decides to start doing some charitable work by visiting a local prison and makes friends with a young woman in that prison who may or may not have been killing people in her job as a seamstress. It sounds absolutely fascinating. It's been compared to Shirley Jackson, Alias Grace. There's a blurb from Kieran Millwood Hargrave, whose other book is here on my TBR as well. So I'm really hoping that I enjoy this as much as I think I will. This fulfills 2 prompts. In the Newts, it fills the prompt to read a horror or thriller novel, and for Simon's High Bear Nation readathon, it fulfills the prompt of Sunburn to read a book with a red cover. Now yes, I know the cover isn't entirely red, but the splotches of red on the front and the back and down the side are about as sunburned as I'm going to get this year, so I thought it was rather appropriate. The next book on my TBR, as I said, is by Kieran Millwood Hargraves, and it is The Mercies. This is a book about a Norwegian island where on Christmas Eve, all of the men go out to fish, and they are all drowned in a terrible storm. And so it becomes an island of women who fend for themselves, become self-sufficient, until one male missionary shows up and decides to try to change all of that. And intrigue ensues in one way or another. This fills 2 prompts as well. For the newts, this fulfills the prompt to read a book with either demons or a water theme. There's the theme of water in that it is a fishing island. This also fulfills the hibernation reading prompt. Read a book that makes you feel either hot or cold, whether you prefer feeling hot or cold. I definitely prefer cold weather, and the fact that this is set in a Norwegian winter, at least to begin, is very much up my street. The next book on my TBR is Evie Wyld's The Bass Rock, which is the story of 3 different women. One woman in the 1700s is in the middle of a witch hunt. The second is a housewife in the 50s who is adjusting to becoming a stepmother. And the third is a modern woman trying to reconcile all of their stories. And they all center around the Bass Rock, which is a real place in Scotland. And it apparently looks at the way witch hunts continue in various forms throughout the centuries. This also fulfills 2 prompts. For the newts, it fulfills the prompt to read a historical fiction book. And for the hibernation readathon, it fulfills the prompt to read a book that takes place somewhere that you've always wanted to go. And I've always wanted to visit the Bass Rock since I've heard my parents talk about it so often. I've always wanted to see it for myself. And the next book on my TBR is Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, which quite honestly I know nothing about except that I love all of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's other works that I've read. I read her 2 feminist pamphlets, and I read Purple Hibiscus 2 or 3 summers ago. So I'm very much looking forward to this as well, since it focuses much more on Nigerian history, I believe, which I know shamefully little about. This also fits the hibernation reading prompt of sun, read a book with either summer or sun on the cover or in the title. And there is a sun both on the cover and in the title, so I thought it was rather appropriate. So that fills the prompts for the hibernation readathon, since it's only a week. So the rest fulfill prompts for the newts readathon. The next book is Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray, which I hoped to read last month. However, it perfectly fit a prompt for this month, so I'm not ashamed to carry it over. This fits the prompt to read a book by an author whose last name begins with the letter B. This is the second book in the Diviners series, which follows a group of teens with supernatural abilities of one sort or another in New York City in the 1920s, chief of whom is Evie, a young girl who is a diviner, which means by holding onto a personal belonging, she can divine all sorts of knowledge about its owner. Book 1 was a thrill ride, terrifying but wonderful at the same time, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing where all of the characters go in Book 2. And the final prompt of the newts is to read a classic. Yes, Lady Chatterley's Lover is also a classic, but you cannot double up on prompts for the newts. So I had to find a different classic, and the classic I found was Anne's House of Dreams by L.M. Montgomery, which is book number 5 in the Anne of Green Gables series, which means I can't say too much about it because it would give away all sorts of spoilers for the first 4 books by this point. But the Anne series has been one of my favorites since I was 12 years old, even though I never made it past the first one until I was in my 20s. If you've also seen this edition, this is an edition that has Anne of the Island and Anne's House of Dreams together. Anne of the Island is book number 3, and Anne's House of Dreams is book number 5. I had to buy book number 4 separately. Has anyone else come across an edition like this? Because to me, it does not make sense. Also for the newts, I will have to read a comic, and I don't have any new graphic novels at the moment, so I'm thinking on a day that I'm feeling particularly low, I'll read either one of the many volumes of Peanuts comics that I have in the house, or one of my Calvin and Hobbes volumes as a little pick-me-up. So there you have it. These are the books that I'm going to read in August. Let me know down below if you loved any of these novels or if you have any more recommendations for me based on this TBR. And until then, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.